Background, as we all know, modeling has been used and applied since the 20th century. So it means it's not a very new topic in our world today. It's been applied in various fields in the world, such as control systems, economics, especially also population research as well. So what is found as the most benefit of modeling is that it gives you a risk-free space, a space where you can freely play with different scenarios to be able to see a different output of the different scenarios. So as part of my keyword in my topic is waste and storage stations. So what is this concept? These are just temporary storage where waste are stored. They are then sorted before they are taken into their final destinations. So here we see an example of a typical direct waste station where you see that in here these trucks that are with waste, which are dumped into these big pipes before it goes into the big long haul trucks, which then take the waste into their final destinations. This is what we call waste transfer stations in different areas. This is our problem statement. In this graph, you see that it's basically compared the cost of waste management in cities. So it compares the cost in low-income countries with the high-income countries. So on the left here, you see the amount of waste that come from different countries. So in the green there, you see that in the high-income countries are the ones which are making or producing more waste as compared to the low-income countries in blue. But surprisingly, the cost of waste management as a percentage of the income of the people is much higher in the low-income country as compared to the high-income countries, which means us in different countries we have to make more effort in order to try to reduce the cost of our waste management in our cities. That is what we have had as a motivation for us to do this research. So as the method used so far, we have first tried to use Excel to analyze data as they come as we tell now. So this first graph here, it just displays the overview of waste production in the country as we say now. So as you can see that Gauteng has the most amount of waste produced in the country with more than 45% of waste. Although the province is one of the smallest ones in the country, but we produce the most waste in the country. This is our first graph, which has given us a very big insight. This second graph, we try to compare, try to understand the link between the waste generation and the population. So in Excel, we did this graph. We managed to do this regression line to see how are these two parameters linked or related. So this graph tells us that there is a positive correlation between the two parameters, which means that an increase of population will also result in an increase of the amount of waste produced in any country or any cities. And here, I'm now trying to compare waste generation with the GDP of the people. And here, the same thing also applies here as well. Here, we have a greater slope of the graph, which means that this link is much more stronger than the one between the waste and population. Means what? As we try to improve our countries, the more the countries is growing, the more waste we produce as well. Which means that we have to also always make an effort to improve on our waste management as we try to develop our countries in our daily work or daily endeavor. So this is the same step of our research. We try to develop this mathematical model, which will try to determine what is the optimal destination of waste for every area in a city. And our case study is the Institute of Giovanni. So this model has for objective to minimize the total time of waste waste disposal in a city. So in here we have different parameters here. It mostly has parameters such as the vehicle speed. It has parameters such as the waste produced in a city. Also the distance between different nodes. So this model has been used. Then we try to use now Excel. We use Excel to now see how can we now run this model to be able to see what is the okay. This is just to show you how I'm now trying to put this model so that in Excel format, because it's in here we are able not to run the model and get the result. So Excel is able to give us the results, which, like as you can see here, this result will tell us for every area what is the optimal destination of their waste for us to be able to minimize the time of the waste in the cities. And for instance, I can see here that you see this Y41, which is as a value of 1, which is a binary variable, means what? It means that area 4 must send its waste in landfill 1. And I've tried to give these areas just numbers just for simplicity, but they all have like meaningful names, like Jamestown must send their waste into this landfill and so forth. So this is what we have achieved so far, and we know what is the optimal destination of every area for us to be able to run the total waste and time of the waste production in the cities. So going back to our slides, after doing those things, I've tried to do now at least event analysis to know, because up to now the area of Niger in Johannesburg are not using WTS. So we want to see at which point the use of this facility will become beneficial for the city. So this graph or this analysis gives us exactly when will these things be more beneficial for the cities. And here we see that it said that once the waste increased by 33%, this is the time where the city should consider constructing a waste transfer stations. This will definitely decrease or minimize the time of waste management. So this is what we have achieved so far. And as solution to the problem, we are still busy with our research, but at this point, we're going to recommend the city and Gibela as well to consider a study which will tell us the benefit of using this kind of facilities in their industries. This is what we have to do, but my model is only a time model, but there's also a cost model which didn't put there because we didn't have cost data to be able to put to run my cost model. So as part of my future research or future work, we're going to try to get access into this cost data to be able to use this data because cost model is more accurate because it includes much more parameters as compared to the time model. So we are looking forward to use this cost model to predict in a more accurate way in the next future. So as the benefit of the research, this will of course maximize the value of scrap within the industry. It will also minimize the total time of waste transportation in the city, but also will also minimize the total cost of waste management, and also will increase the recycling rate of waste in our areas. And last, but it's also going to be able to contribute to the protection of our environment. These are the benefits of using this kind of facility in our work or in our cities. We have written 3 articles so far. I've got 2 conferences to be done. One this year, one happened last year. like I'm still working on my chapters, and we acknowledge the support of TUT, Gibela, and for all the supports given to us at this far. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
I think although we have not went in details with Gibela as such to know what will their waste impact the city, but when we speak about the GDP, Gibela is going to hopefully eventually develop the area. So that development will eventually result in an increase of waste generation. That's how they are also concerned about waste in the area where they are operating. But I think we still need to do more research to know exactly how is their own waste should be managed to be able now to impact it in a bad way. And as for the long future of produced cars at Gibela, I think that's good for part of our future research, our future work, to see how with these produced cars or trains should be handled to avoid damage to the city or the environment. We'll look at that. We'll see that in the future.
Section by itself, it has sort of it has an offspring. One of the offspring is the incubator. So Gibela is there. We are working this journey together. So if there is any other, I think even for the senior guys that are here, they will tell you that for whatever they were doing, if we were able to support them, we supported them. Yeah. So there is a lot of engagement and interaction with most of the projects that are happening here. A person like what's her name, Kumbuzi, their project. It was done for Gibela. It's just that for ethic reasons, she can't mention Gibela. That's what we agreed on. But we are giving this support. We are there to support you guys in the best way that it's possible. But when it comes to the incubation side, those opportunities, I think they are still there. These guys were tested for them to manufacture the jigs. It was part of it. But I think in terms of making sure that we've got the technical expertise of and the rate at which we can produce. If the idea is for academic purposes, then you can get it as soon as yesterday. But if the idea is for profit making, you need to make sure that your vehicle is well oiled. You are able to move with speed that is required. For academic purposes, even whatever you need to do, we will support you, I think, as soon as yesterday. But the ones for the commercial part is something that you have to demonstrate your strong capability.